Team Wacky racers are being guided by Khalifa, who seems to know the quickest way around every rock. Even though Jim of Team New Forest Stallions doesn't speak any French or Arabic, they understand each other perfectly. Despite Matt's lack of faith, they are the first team to arrive at the Tahaya Dune, which marks the entrance to the national park and tonight's meeting camp. The only spectator that has turned out to welcome the rally is a stray donkey.
He's going to nick something. Oh, he didn't like the smell of that. What was it? My socks. Oh, don't be horrid, he can't hurt.
Yeah, if you each have passports.
Julian's is the next convoy to arrive at Tahaya, and soon there is quite a collection of vehicles under the dune. Everyone has a story to tell.
It should have taken an hour, took us 3.5.
Everybody's still smiling anyway.
I think we're slowly getting better. The nice thing is that I think my lot has the larder got stuck once? I don't think it's got stuck
not the desert
once.
region.
Oh, so I think where the
Larder's best so far.
No, driver's best. Larder's good, but driver's best. And last is the white Carina, but improving all the time.
It's very low and heavy.
I know it's not
Ideal.
It's not ideal. I think you're probably 2 inches below us on the sand, and that just drags you back.
Omar, the oldest and most respected guide, shows Drew how to get a 4x4 to the top of the dune. Then he does it in a two-wheel drive car, while John the driver looks on. Not to be outdone, Carl tries the stunt in the Boy Racers Nova, but destroys the roof rack on landing.
Irresponsible. I'm going to complain to the National Park authorities in New Adibu. Disgusting.
After several hours, Ella's convoy still hasn't turned up, and Omar is worried. He tells Steve that Mohammed, Ella's guide, has never guided two-wheel drive vehicles before. Matt and Dave volunteer to go back and look for them on a rescue mission. After hours of searching, Omar, guiding the film crew vehicle, locates Ella's stranded convoy.
That's the petrol tank. The sump's down there, or what's left of it. It ceased to be enjoyable about an hour ago. It started to become a bit worrying. We were just hitting sand, and then we hit rocks, and you have to go fast over the rocks to make the next sand dune, which is how we did the sump and the petrol tank. We've got this, which is good for around town, maybe if you're taking the kids to school. That's okay. I mean, what charity in their right mind is going to want this? So the petrol tank's screwed, the sump's screwed, the fan we've had to hardwire and leave the bonnet open because the car overheats and you have to have the heater on in the desert. That's not particularly good, is it? No, well, their boys reckon they can repair it. I don't know. I mean, they reckon they put liquid metal on, and it takes 6 hours to work its magic, and then we'll be back on the road. As long as we don't have some doofus take us through the desert where we have to hit, you know, rocks at 50 mile an hour with the world's lowest car. Don't you think? You did. This guide's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. We've been going up and down the dunes and the rocks. I've had my adventure. Can we stop now?
Omar gives Mohammed a severe telling off, then takes charge of Ella's group.
We've seen other vehicles just bypassing us, going on a different route.
Mohammed tries to regain some respect from Ella and Fran.
We don't want to leave you lot, that's the problem, because we're just stuffed if we stay with this guy.
With the 5 cars spread out over a mile of track, it's complete confusion.
Yeah, follow that.
The guide up there has told the Mercedes to go on a bit and that we're all going to meet around here. The other guides, our guide. Is this guide coming back for us, Sam, or what?
Which guide?
This one.
You want to see me cry? Give me 5 more minutes.
Well, hopefully we're going to drag it somewhere, but I'm not quite sure about. I'm sure it'll become apparent.
With the Rover unloaded, Matt's larder takes up the strain on the tow rope. Mohammed is unrepentant.
Apart from the fact that we're being towed now and the brakes have locked up because they're powered by the engine, aren't they? So I'm using the handbrake. Right. The clutch stinks. You know, like you get those Scalextrics cars. When you get a Scalextrics car and it just gets completely burnt. But we've not been riding the clutch. This window doesn't work, of course. Clutch, lights. There's another couple of things.
Eventually, they make it to the Tahaya dune.
Yeah, the horse still works. Come on! It's the only thing that does.
Some days a diamond, some days a stone.
But Ella's convoy aren't the only ones that have had troubles.
Petrol pumps have fallen off. They're now in the boot. That sounds like a Chevy.
So you know wing?
Yes, the wing took paste in today and everything else. Quality.
And we lost the exhaust pipe, so that's now wired through the floor to the back seats.
And everything went fine until we got to the desert, and then everybody just started overtaking us. And we see everybody in the distance going, ah, and we're stuck in sand.
And you know what Rover stands for? Really horrible vehicle for elderly relatives.
Yeah. Now you tell me. Yeah. You said everything was going to be fine.
It's all my fault. You know, the Latvians have said that you should roll your car onto its side because you've got so many blokes to roll it.
Yes.
And then take off the sump, and then hammer the 2 bits of metal together, and then liquid metal.
Honestly, we were done for. That reaver that appeared out of the horizon.
Yeah.
The sun behind him. It's like a vision.
Meanwhile, Mohammed's smugness is sending Jeff into a rage.
Just go away! God, I've had enough. I've had a bad day. I don't need an argument about it, all right? God, you can talk the fucking ass off a camel.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Go away! Talk somewhere else! It's a fucking piece of quiet!
After the break, the Rover breaks down again. The cold desert morning means everyone is up early, and there's time for a bit of tinkering before the day's driving starts.
Anyway, it's now Wednesday. Wednesday, look at this one for the day. 8th.
Car's running quite well. I managed to dig us into that sand dune yesterday.
One's English time and one's African time. They're on the same time because I didn't know. After we'd got through France and Spain, we went back to English time.
Yeah, we're just making shock absorbers out of tennis balls this morning. These lads have got a bag of tennis balls, would you believe it?
We had a bag of 10 tennis balls.
There's nothing these boys haven't got in that car.
Try not to get crushed. Some people stay here.
The liquid metal has set on the Rover. It's time to put the repair to the test. The Latvians take charge of righting the car.
Okay.
That, Andy, is a car that's been brought back to life about 3 times. It's not leaking oil. I'm fucking over the moon. I can't believe it. We're just going to get going.
I don't know.
Bonjour, ça va? Bien, deal with what? We'll just ignore him.
Even the other guides are giving Mohammed the cold shoulder.
His guiding days are over. He will never guide again.
Ella's convoy splits up and each car joins another convoy. For the first part of the morning, everyone travels together. Until the breakdowns start, the Hillman Hunter is the first.
Our throttle return spring has pretty much collapsed. So as we're driving along, you accelerate, the throttle opens, it opens and opens and opens, it keeps opening. So instead of driving past everybody at 50 miles an hour, we're having to drive it with no accelerator and the foot on the brake all the time, which is going to burn the clutch out. So we decided, well, we better stop and try and do something with it. Also, our exhaust has fallen off, and we haven't exactly got an awful lot of exhaust left.
So we're fabricating a new return spring using the seat rubber from a 2CV.
And we'll probably wire up the exhaust as well. We've already drilled some holes in the smashed some holes in the floor at the back. So we'll just put some wire through and hopefully loop it up and it'll hold. That's the plan.
Okay.
All we've got to do now is fix the exhaust.
Oh, what fun we had!
Spectacular, that is.
It's not the taking part, it's the breaking down that counts, and we're doing it.
Ce n'est pas beaucoup la voiture mauritanienne, c'est les mêmes.
C'est pas beaucoup.
C'est la Mauritanie, il y a beaucoup de voitures, une belle voiture. Beaucoup de voitures, c'est le même comme ça. Bliss, gars, bliss. Ça casse complètement.
The rest of the rally ploughs on. Even Team Hadley's Rover is holding together, but as sun rises so does the wind, and soon the teams are fighting a full-blown sandstorm. Eventually the Hunter gets going again, but then it's the turn of the Weasel's larder.
Yeah, it's just overheating again.
It's the VAS maintenance manual. It's got a bit of a troubleshooting section. Reasons for engine overheating, right? Slackening of pump and alternator drive belts. Are we losing oil, Chris?
Maris the Latvian thinks he may have found the problem.
That routes some of the water out of the way of the radiator when it's cold, and that's jammed open, so not enough of our water to go through the radiator.
Meanwhile, still in the sandstorm, the Cobb Cruiser's 2-ton van is stuck in the sand, and Team Hadley have got stuck behind it.
Slowing down meant that we just sunk down. Not right down to the accident. We stopped before it got that bad.
Then it's Team Hadley's turn. The guide takes the wheel and with a lot of pushing frees the car from the sand. But there's an ominous puff of blue smoke from the engine.
Le disque, il est fatigué. Il est fatigué. Hier.
Chris doesn't understand the full extent of what the guide is saying, but when they try to drive the car off, it's clear that the clutch really has had it.
Everyone kind of slowed down, so we slowed down, then we got caught in the sand. But then as this geezer pulled it out of the sand, so the smoke appeared. It was going okay over the sand, it was fine, we were at speed, but I don't know whether that was the last bit for him to get it out of the sand dunes. Meant that it finally went kaput.
Carl tries another rescue mission.
It's like an operation watching someone die, isn't it? I think we might have to ditch it, boys, to be honest.
But it's time to face the inevitable.
Let's start unloading it. Spare wheels? How many use 21?
Gotta let him go! No! Let her go, sir! There's still life in here! Sir!
After an overheating engine, a punctured fuel tank, and a ruptured sump, it's finally the worn clutch that proves the death of the rover. The bumpy road has taken its toll on Oscar's and Maris's roof rack, which has mysteriously vanished along with all its contents. Oz isn't taking any chances with his. The Hunter's engine is being as obstinate as a camel. After a push start and then a second one, the guide takes them over the dune section of the route. From here there are 40 miles of rolling sand dunes to cover. For the engines, this will be the most taxing part of the journey. The Granada takes the challenge in its stride, but the 2CV is having more trouble. The Hunter is overheated and needs to stop. The 2CV is overheating too, and so is Tim. By the time the Hunter has cooled down, it won't start anymore.
Just keep it going.
And when the Hunter is running, the 2CV won't start.
It wants to catch. It's like quick fit on a Saturday morning. Coffee, possibly gin and tonic, or I might be hallucinating due to dehydration. So
Hugh's waffling deliriously.
small sort of camel souffle or something.
Elsewhere, Jeff is working on his all-over body tan. Dave's bowels are playing up, and this is the first bush in 100 miles. Afterwards, Karen, Dave's wife, needs a bit of ventilation in the car. Once again, the hunter has stopped and is refusing to start.
It's the fourth time we've broken down today, so it's getting a little bit trying. So it's rough as a bag of nails.
The 2CV has also had enough, but finally Maris finds an easy solution. The team no wiser tries something similar with the hunter. After the national park, the teams still have to drive 100 miles along Mauritania's Atlantic beach before reaching civilization again. But at this rate, they're going to miss the tide and be forced to camp an extra unexpected night in the desert. With the supplies running low, it's not a prospect anyone is looking forward to. So the race is on. Team Danger Weasel's larder is overheating every few minutes, and no one can find the cause.
I think the seal on this is shit.
I mean, your pump's alright. You're not blocked anywhere. Your radiators.
Radiator's fine. It's not.
Have you got enough water to flush the rad or something like that?
While the Latvians get stuck into the larder, Team Unknown gets stuck into some housework. Finally, as the sun sets, the Danger Weasel's convoy arrives at the coast. But it's too late. They've missed the tide for today. After 3,000 miles of bad roads, the tarmac ran out completely when the cars crossed into Mauritania to attempt the Sahara crossing. After making it through the sandy national park, the teams who are being guided in convoys of 5 cars arrive at the beach. But the incessant breakdowns has meant that the 2-day trip has already taken 3, and the high tide means they were beached for the night.
We're at food, we're starving. I'm fed up with sweet corn. Sweet corn, sweet corn.
I'm just so tired. I'm sleeping in anything, even a horrible, damp, lumpy tent.
Forget what it's like to be clean.
Smelling like desert rats. I'm gonna sit on a beach in Gambia. All the nice people that go on package holidays.
Sleep in bed.
Beds, do you remember beds? Not this. Oh.
Shit in the toilet.
Shit in the toilet. Don't tease me with your talk of toilets.
But once again, the tide is coming in, and the teams will have to get up quickly to make it along the 100-mile beach if they want to get to a town by the end of the day. Ahead, rocks are blocking the beach. At lower tide, the cars could have driven round them, but soon the water level will be so high they won't even be able to drive over it. It's a tense moment, because everyone knows the cars could either get stuck or wash away, or both. Fortunately, the guides are there to give directions, but even they get it wrong sometimes. It's a close call, but all the cars make it through the rocks. From here, it's an easy cruise to the city. The drivers can relax and enjoy the drive.